And next up is doctoral researcher Matti Hästbacka, who's a geographer, and we might hear something a bit more from the Canary Islands, at least, as far as I understood. So please, Matti.
Yes, thank you. I'm Matti. I'm just like Tatu, I'm a doctoral researcher in the Mobicon project, and I'm going to be talking under this title through some examples from the past, from ongoing work, and maybe something that might be ahead of us. Essentially, I'm interested in what is the importance of nature in tourism. And yeah, I should say that there might be some slight overlaps with earlier presentations. We're in the session 4, but I try to maybe speak from a slightly different perspective here. So tourism, as Tuuli said, it's been called the largest industry in the world. It's responsible for every 10th job globally. It's about 10% of global GDP. It's absolutely massive by all possible measures. And we know that nature plays a role in all of that. In fact, it's one of the most important attractions, but we just don't really know how important it is. But we've tried to find out through the lens of the Pentagon as our guide. We've sought to sort of understand how we can answer the importance of nature for visitors themselves, so nature-based tourists, if you will, or the impact of those very tourists on the nature that's being visited. So these are the sort of perspectives here. And we'll start in the Canaries. It's sometimes a bit difficult to talk to people about doing work in the Canary Islands because it's usually not seen that way, and it takes some just justifying and convincing people that it's actually interesting, especially in the geography department and the coffee room. But there's some numbers up there. It's a mass tourism destination. It broke all previous records last year. Almost 8 people per inhabitant, 17 million altogether last year, and it's projected to be broken again this year. And as Aina already said, this has caused real issues, and people are upset because it's getting quite crowded. It's a biodiversity hotspot, has a very high, has rich endemism. There's also cool geodiversity in there, and in fact quite a lot of that is under protection, under formal protection, including 4 national parks. But that's the only places that we know something about the usage, the recreational usage of protected nature there. The kind of data that we have to sort of understand and quantify tourism in the Canaries is from these traditional data sources, and we know that over 90% of overnight stays are concentrated in under 2% of the territory. So that's what the planning is about. Of course, the managers know that the tourists do leave the places, but there's no hard data, and as it became evident in the morning sessions, that in order to convince people, the people in charge of policies and such, having that kind of data is really helpful. So we've sort of seen if we could use these by now very familiar approaches to estimate what is the importance of nature for tourists in the Canary Islands. And just by simply looking at the spatial distribution of Flickr posts, we see that 1/3 of the content comes from nature, not from the areas where people are staying. Preaching to the choir here, but mobility matters, and people actually move about. So almost 2/3 of the people who in this data, so of the Flickr users, had visited nature, and almost half of them a protected area. So yeah, does this mean that the Canary Islands is some kind of a nature-based tourism mecca? Probably not. It's still very much, the model is mass tourism. It's based on sun, sea and sand, but nature is definitely an important factor, and people go there. But what do they post about? So using methods, computer vision methods, we can put this mass of photos through a pipeline and to see what kinds of contents emerge. So here's example. This is same data from the previous slide. So what you're looking at is clusters of semantic similarity. Semantic clustering is the name of the approach, and what it does is it tries to put photos that look similar, that are semantically similar, closer together. And so the big one up there, for example, is photos of people. The one that looks like a sort of, I think it looks like a rat. It's photos of surfing on waves. There's landscapes, there's food, there's animals, and so forth. And then when we know where these photos have been taken, we can see that there's nature-related contents make up roughly a quarter of the entire contents there, which is, again, nature is important, but also importantly it shows that not all content from nature is of nature, and some content from outside of what we would spatially delineate as nature might have some nature-related things. So the animal ones, I don't know if you can see the text in the back, but there's some marine mammals, there's birds, there's fish and reptiles. Most of that content actually does not come from nature. It's photos of captive animals in zoos. And a lot of the photos from nature are in the people cluster. So people go to nature, a lot of them go there to take photos of themselves and look at the animals elsewhere. Okay. Yeah. So closer to home, similar, the same method, National Parks of Finland. What is being photographed? Some of it is probably something that you would think. There's photos of wintry forests. There's photos of the aurora borealis, and so on. And the content is rich and diverse. And again, if we combine this with some kind of an attribute, we can look at differences between different visitor groups, for example. So international and local visitors differ in what they post about, and that could be interpreted as they might value different things. Different things are worth sharing online for them. So yes, nature is important to visitors in different contexts. It might differ between different user groups, but then those visits are the physical visits are taking place in a lot of the time in protected areas, and they do have an impact. This is from a paper by Anna here and some others who are also here, looking at it at the global scale and understanding human pressures on important bird and biodiversity areas. So I think this is one of the coolest things about social media data. You can combine a GPS accuracy almost, and sometimes maybe not, but usually, with the global coverage. And you can do these kinds of cool maps to understand pressures to nature that you cannot analyze in any other way feasibly at the global scale. So going forward then, combining the importance of nature globally. So this is ongoing stuff. Again, making use of this unique quality of social media data, producing an indicator of the relative importance of nature at the country scale. Where do people travel to visit nature in particular? So it's It's the percentage of foreign users, so visitors to other countries that have posted from a protected area during their visit. And when we know where people come from, we can start seeking answers to questions that relate to sustainability. What is the carbon cost of this visit that might be beneficial to people themselves, to locals, even to conservation? So in many places, conservation funding is heavily dependent on foreign tourists and the money they bring in, but at the same time there's a cost. So I think this is very, very exciting, and I don't think there's any other source of data that would make this kind of analysis possible. So, yeah, maybe to wrap it up, it's the same slide from before. So we can use this flexibly, and that's cool. And I think I'm going to end here, as I'm probably over time already. So, yeah, thank you.